afternoon, ladies. I hope we are all doing very well at home amidst this COVID-19, and I hope that we are taking very good care of ourselves. Special greetings from all other members of the education department to you all. This course will be facilitated by myself, Ms. Monico, and Mr. Moses Azerewa Azere. Let's now shift attention to the rationale for the acquisition of instructional skills. Education is the means for helping individuals to discover or to obtain their potentials. And for that reason, it has to be done well. If not, pupils will not develop the interest and even the motivation that will guide their future development. And as a good teacher, you need to understand how to deal and cope with human nature in delivering instructions. Some of the reasons why teachers need to acquire instructional skills may include: 1, to understand and plan instructional activities systematically so that learner potentials would be properly developed. If you have instructional skills, it helps you, the teacher, to understand what you are going to teach. Plan ahead, not just planning, but planning systematically so that you deliver your lessons well for your learners to enjoy your lessons. Again, it is to help you to interact appropriately with your pupils so that they can enjoy learning. Creating a facilitative relationship, I said earlier on, is about interaction in the classroom. It will also enable teachers to determine the instructional resources needed to make lesson delivery effective. If you have the skill of planning instructions, you'll be able to know the needed instructional resources that can help you to deliver your lessons appropriately in class. Again, instructional skills will help teachers to make efficient use of time in lesson delivery, so you don't waste instructional time in class. You don't go and be conversing, working lotto, or talking unnecessarily about things that do not relate to the topic you are treating. It would also help pupils to be adequately engaged and kept so busy that they will not have the opportunity to misbehave. Teachers who can't arouse and sustain the interest of their learners in class may have students misbehaving in their classroom. If you have instructional skills, you will be able to arouse their interest and sustain the interest right from the beginning of the lesson through to the end. Instructional skills ensures the achievement of lesson objectives always, making it possible for pupils to acquire the requisite skills and pass their exams. What are some importance of instructional skills to the learner? SEALS 1967 came with 2 major benefits of instructional skills to the individual. To him, the individual will benefit by being able to 1, discover, create, and express meaning. This is because the individual will learn to establish good objectives, draw good plans, and achieve a better understanding of issues. All these come from what the pupil will be taken through in the course of instruction. It will help learners, again, to develop a rational power. That is the ability to think rationally and logically. Our ability to do these 2 things comes from the classroom. The proper sequence in teaching activities, logical questioning being asked, conclusions drawn in the classroom, help pupils to develop these rational power. Let's now draw a distinction between the two concepts we have been talking about so far: instruction and teaching. The table shows the difference. Under instruction, the first point that says that instruction is always goal-oriented. It is deliberate or intentional. But not all teaching is goal-oriented. Sometimes some of the teaching doesn't end up achieving any goal at all. But instruction is goal-oriented. There is always a reason for teaching in the classroom. I've already said that organized way of teaching in the classroom is referred to as instruction. Instruction goes with order, structure, and sequence, but not all teaching go with this. Instruction can occur without a live teacher. You don't need to always have a teacher present before instruction can take place. It includes all learning experiences in which the instructional support is conveyed by teaching and other forms of mediation. But teaching involves a live teacher, according to Smith and Reagan, 1990. Instruction is purely science, and teaching is both an art and a science. Even now, classroom teaching, which is instruction, can be both an art and a science. Because when you teach, though you have acquired the methodology, you have acquired a formal training in teaching, sometimes when you teach, you need to bring in your natural flair or your natural talent to make your lessons interesting. Principles of teaching, learning, and instruction. What are principles? The layman would explain principles as a set of rules that govern one's behavior. Others may explain principles as personal ideas that they follow to make them accepted in every society. Now, the BBC English Dictionary defines principles as a belief that one has about behavior. Again, from the same source, principle has been defined as a general rule or a scientific law about how something or object works. Generally, principles are beliefs, they are rules, they are laws about how things happen or work and the way one should behave. What are importance of principles? Principles are the foundation on which practical decisions, actions, and methods are based. In the classroom, in the home, and even at the workplaces, we take decisions and actions that are based on principles. Principles help one to understand and think of appropriate practices or methods. Principles are important to the classroom teacher because it helps you to understand the various methods at your disposal. Think about these methods and critically choose the most appropriate ones for instructional purposes. Principles help teachers to readjust and modify their methods of teaching. Let's look at the very first principle of teaching, the principle of facilitative relationship. Very, very important. Let's look at the principle of facilitative relationship. To facilitate simply means to help, to assist. Therefore, facilitative relationship is the kind of interaction that should exist between the teacher and learners so as to aid, so as to help teaching and learning. Facilitative here means making something easy in the teaching and learning process. Therefore, facilitative relationship is an activity or interaction between the teacher and learners that makes both teaching and learning so easy. According to Standard and Rock 1974, The principle of facilitative relationship holds that any significant or important learning occurs through human interaction. The teacher and learners must interact in a well-defined manner to bring about learning. Some human interactions that can bring about learning include dramatization of topics treated, going on an excursion to educational sites, group work, debates, etc. Why should there be facilitative relationship even in the first place? Now, the teaching method that is effective at the basic school level is the activity method, which I believe we all know. This is the case because learning takes place easily and effectively when learners are actively involved in activities during the teaching and learning process. Children at this level cannot sit down for longer hours to do mental activities. Sitting down for longer hours only involves the use of the brain. And children are not in the position to do that. Children need to do other things or activities that relate to what they are learning, such as drawing, writing, singing, clapping, doing other things. So you cannot pin a child down for more than an hour to sit and listen to a lecture or perform other mental activities. For example, you may be teaching subtraction. You can ask the child to sit for one continuous hour and then work out examples from the board as far as subtraction is concerned. There is the need for you to bring in songs and other things that will sustain the interest of the child. So, for example, you'll be teaching subtraction. You can bring in a song like 10 little ducks went out one day over the fields and far away. Mother duck said quack, 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 and only 9 little ducks came back. You do these things with a science attached. 9 little ducks went out one day over the fields and far away. Mother duck said quack, 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 and only 8 little ducks came back. As these children are singing, they are learning the concept of subtraction indirectly. But they may not feel so tired because they are not seated for a very long time. That is how children are, and that is how they should be treated. For that reason, facilitative relationship is very, very necessary. What are some of the characteristics of a facilitative relationship? How would you know that this relationship that exists between the teacher and his or her pupils is the facilitative type? Facilitative relationship have certain key characteristics. The very first one is love. It is the most important element in all human relations. A basic school teacher must learn to love his or her work. You must love your work, which is the teaching. Love the subjects you are teaching, and above all, love the children you handle in the classroom, in the school, and in the world as a whole. If you are a teacher, it tells you that you are a friend to children. And for that reason, you should love them unconditionally. That alone motivates children to get closer to you and to learn from you. You need to love the work you are doing. Attach some importance to the work. Have the zeal, have the passion for the work you are doing. Most people go through teacher training because they have been forced to go. Or in our era, because the first gentleman of the land, Nana Addo Akufo-Addo, is giving allowance to students. And so they decide to go to the teacher training. It is not because they have the passion for the work they are going to do. But teaching is such that if you don't have the passion, you will never do it and do it well. Love the subject you are teaching. When you love the subject you are teaching, you read around it. You try to acquire more information, more knowledge on the subject matter. You compare information so you can deliver your lessons well in class. On the other hand, the children you teach must learn to love each other. They must learn to love learning. They must learn to love the subjects they are reading, and they must learn to love their teachers. One thing I've realized is that if you love your students, they will in turn love you. But if you are too harsh on your students, if you don't show them any love, you are not there in times of need, they can't fall on you if they don't understand certain things, there is no way your learners will love you. And so love is one most important key characteristic of a facilitative relationship. The teacher in the expression of love should be resourceful. You should be resourceful. You should have lots and lots of information, materials that are in line with what you are going to teach. You must be dedicated. You can only be dedicated if you love your work. If you are passionate about the work, then you can be dedicated. You must learn to compromise. Serve in place of parents. Help solve social, academic, and spiritual problems of your learners. So you see, it's not only the academic issues of your learners, it even goes to include their spiritual problems. Teachers, we have a lot of work to do. It has been identified that the teacher is the most important person in the child's life. And if a child has the slightest idea or feeling that the teacher dislikes him or her, I bet you such a child would hate school and will be dissatisfied with himself or herself. He or she would eventually have a personality problem. Teachers, don't let us make our children feel, our learners, our students, our pupils feel that we don't love them. That may be the end for them. Every child holds the teacher in high esteem. Every child sees the teacher as a role model. That explains why a teacher gives homework assignment. The teacher may be wrong or might be wrong. The parent decides to correct the child, and the child tells you, no, madam must say, sir say, ye me say. So every teacher feels that every child feels that his or her teacher is supreme. Let us get closer to our students and let them feel at home with or without our presence. The second most important characteristics of facilitative relationship is empathy. Your ability to feel exactly the same way your learner feels. In ordinary terms, we say that you should be in the shoes of the learner. See things from the way your learner sees them, understand the learner, and help him or her. Some teachers are not empathic at all towards the learners, towards their students. You may not have the kind of problem the child already goes through at home. And so when the child comes to school, we expect that you should be a mother or a father to the child. And here is the case, you can't empathize with the child. How then do you expect this child to live in school? Still on empathy, the learner, on the other hand, should also feel the way his or her colleague feels. They should understand each other, accept each other for who and what they are. In this way, there would be effective communication in the learning situation. And this would enhance good academic and social performance. The next important characteristics of the facilitative relationship is trust. This is very important in every human interaction and in all human relationships worldwide. Trust is very important because it helps to build confidence between the teacher and the learner. Existence of trust in teaching leads to the learning process, or the existence of trust in the learning process enables the learner to open up to the teacher, and that helps the learner to confide in the teacher. The moment your student is able to confide in you, it means you can take that opportunity to counsel the student. When there is trust between the teacher and children, it opens up a channel for effective communication in the classroom, and it enhances learning and good academic performance. Teachers, let us learn to trust our students, and our students will in turn trust themselves. Another feature of facilitative relationship is good communication. Good communication. This is very important because it enhances the free flow of information. It creates a positive interaction, very healthy relationship is established, and it improves classroom work. Good communication results in a close emotional relationship between teachers and learners. When this happens, it ensures mutual respect, good manners towards each other, and a reduction of fear of the teacher. Care and positive regard, another important feature of a facilitative relationship. It is the role of the teacher to give unconditional attention and care to all learners. The word there is unconditional, no strings attached. You don't say that student A is neat. Student A brings a banana to me when he or she is coming to school, but student B does not do those things, and so you are not my friend, you don't get closer to me. If you are in need of anything, go elsewhere, look for it. No. A good classroom teacher must show care and unconditional positive regard towards his or her learner. This would encourage the learner to develop self-confidence. On this note, we bring today's lesson to a close. We have looked at a lot of concepts today, starting with teaching. We looked at instruction. We're able to look at the distinction between the two. We've talked a lot about facilitative relationship, the various characteristics that shows facilitative relationship between a teacher and the student. I believe and hope that my ladies would go over every information given, will comment, and then subscribe to this channel and tell others about it to do the same. Please, in this era of COVID-19, observe all protocols given by the Ministry of Health. Wash your hands regularly under running water. Use sanitizers as often as possible. Use the mask if you should go out. And please, if possible, stay home. Don't be roaming about unnecessarily, so you don't bring COVID-19 to campus. God bless us all and bless our homeland. Thank you.